Everyone. Been a while. I'm here. Wild hair and all. Last year kind of fell apart at the end with sickness, getting married, then sickness, then the 31 horror reviews of Halloween kind of just was the final like nail in the coffin for everything. Sorry, my camera's just a little crooked. A little more crooked than I like. I'm recording in a weird space that's kind of echoey. I don't think I'll be recording out here. Also, we moved. We moved to a lot better of a house. Happy about that. And the last couple months, I've filmed one video and two podcasts. And those were like in the last 2 weeks. Those podcasts were in the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to talk about what's going on with the channel because January's going to be a little funky when it comes to videos and probably into February as well. Because most of them are going to be shot at the old house. With the exception of I got 2 Indiana Jones reviews I need to film that will be here. But I have a bunch of stuff that was filmed in like July and August, never got released because we got too much happened with the wedding. I couldn't keep up with the channel, and I had to make a tactical choice of what do I need to work on, and it ended up being the Halloween reviews, which still, that was a nightmare. That was an absolute flippin' nightmare. I do want to do that again because I liked just a blitz of horror reviews at that time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read horror stuff throughout the year up until that. So the 10 months leading up, I'll be reviewing stuff. So like I have a couple things that I started for 31 day horror reviews of Halloween that I'm in the process of, and I see them on my Goodreads and it bothers me. Those will get dealt with first, and I'll film those first. So we'll probably 30 Days a Night, Bloodsucker Tales, which is, I mean, if you watch this, it's bad. It's so bad that I was just like, I want to read something else that's actually enjoyable. Unfortunately, I picked Doom Knee Deep in the Dead, so I kind of lost there. But Bloodsucker Tales is genuinely awful. And then I'm also reading some Scott Alley garbage, Solomon Kane stuff. It's not super garbage. It's just really boring. So what happened? I'll explain these, and I'll explain them again when I review the Dark Horse Solomon Kane comics. So Scott Alley, known woman biter and sexual harasser, got editor. He was an editor at Dark Horse for a long time and shouldn't have been. He's not the best comic author in my opinion. He's a piece of shit, but it doesn't really factor into like his writing capabilities, right? He so for some fucking reason they went with the Marvel staple of Solomon Kane has to fight like magical creatures and stuff, which was, yes, Robert E. Howard did that sometimes where he fights some sort of prehistoric thing and it'd be like a Conan story kind of thing. But most of the time, Solomon Kane fought people. Evil people. Or at least people he deemed evil. And that really, that's the core of Solomon Kane. Those are the stories I prefer Solomon Kane do than him fight weird bat demons and stuff. Which, I'm fine with those when Robert E. Howard wrote them, but like Marvel took the supernatural elements to its utmost extreme, and I don't know. I've never read any of the Marvel stuff. It's never super appealed. I mean, as a completionist, so I do like Solomon Kane. I would probably try to pick up that Marvel omnibus that came out several years ago now. Although it's hard to find for a decent price. But the Dark Horse ones, they said, we'll take an unfinished Solomon Kane story, because Robert E. Howard was notorious for starting a pulp story and never finishing it. There's those with Conan and like all of his properties, but Solomon Kane has several because once Conan took off, that is all Robert E. Howard wrote. So there's several Solomon Kane stories that have beginnings and they just don't have ends. Um, so Dark Horse is like, well, we can finish some of these stories, and I got to the point where the story actually ended because it wasn't finished. The Robert E. Howard portion's done, and then it's just not as good. And so that I was just like, I don't feel like reading this. And we were already starting to like look for houses. October was a nutso month, especially at the end when we did find we found this house, but we applied at like two other houses. It was so much. It was way too much going on, and you can tell some of my worst reviews that I've ever filmed came from that, and it was just because I said I would do something, and I didn't want to renege on my promise because I've done that several times, and I always feel bad about that. But instead, I decided to make an inferior product, and it shows. It shows in how bad like people. I lost subscribers. Like people weren't happy with my latter output of reviews, and so I might re-review stuff like that first Resident Evil book, because I didn't say enough in my opinion. I don't know if I'll ever read more Doom stuff, but like I do plan to like finish up like 30 Days of Night, um, or at least the ones I own on Comixology. I'll read through those because I didn't intend to review more than like two of them, and then I ended up reviewing four of them because I just couldn't stop reading them. So I'd like to do that. This month, to jump back, this month I think we have some Punisher reviews in queue that are gonna I'm working on editing right now. Punisher reviews that were supposed to come out in July and never did. Like Punisher is co-starring with other heroes, sort of deal. Um, that's good. There might be a Predator. I don't think there is a Predator review. I think I'm up to date on all my Aliens and Predator stuff. I do kind of want to get back into Alien reading because there's a new Alien book comes out on the 7th. Um, I do want to tackle some more Aliens comics. I think for the last tail end of this of December, I was really focused on podcast books. So like I got through House Harkonnen, I got through It, even got through Eyes of the Dragon. I went through that in like one day. That's a solid book. We'll be talking about that this weekend. Um, I have a lot to say about Eyes of the Dragon. Um, I think the next audiobook is going to be House Carino, at least for part of it. And then we'll jump back into that's a weird noise. I don't think that's coming from in that. I think that's the neighbors. Sorry. It's been a while since I actually filmed by myself. It's just like I got a couple Star Wars stuff, Star Wars reviews, some bad Star Wars stuff. You're forewarned. There's at least one Star Wars review that's done. Um, I need to get through. I need to get through some Star Wars again. I would like to read the Last Jedi Apprentice book. I thought I'd have more time than I did in December, and I didn't get to it. So yeah, it will officially mean that we're done with Jedi Apprentice. Because that book takes place like right after Rogue Planet. I don't think it references Rogue Planet. In fact, the fact that the first one has enough of a nod to say, hey, Rogue Planet is officially Anakin's mission, and this is just like an emergency thing because Anakin wants to call it a mission. Obi-Wan keeps saying it's not a mission. That keeps it's clunky, I'll admit that. But it was nice that Jude Watson did that because when you get into Jedi Quest, Jude Watson and continuity, especially her own continuity, gets a little muddled from what I remember. There's a couple instances where she forgets Anakin's age, and it just makes things really unnecessarily complicated, and it's just weird. I probably will tackle Jedi Quest, although I don't think that will be until after Legends Con. Legends Con, that's kind of like the big thing I want to start tackling is material for the authors. I want to have read at least one Star Wars book from every author. I have read just about everything that from all the authors, but it's been a long time since I touched that stuff. And I don't, I'm not comfortable enough discussing things with the authors about their material. Um, I think the first Star Wars book I tend to tackle from these authors, it's probably going to be Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. I think two of them. I know Kevin J. Anderson wrote stuff for it. I mean, he edited it. Um, Honestly, out of all of his work, that's what I really want to pick his brain about was putting that all together. But I think Barbara Hambly may have written stuff for that. Um, John Whitman, I'm good on. I'll probably read his. Well, I'm going to read his West End Games Adventure Journal because it's a prequel to one of the Galaxy of Fear books. I'm going to try to track down. There is another Zack and Tash adventure he wrote for Hyperspace, and I don't think I have it printed in anything. I don't. I'm going to have to look around, both physically and then on the internet, and see if I can read that. Oh, Cleo wants to say hello. You coming up? Good girl. Of course, Cleo's got to be involved. Cleo's always got to be involved in filming in some way. Sometimes she's just too much. Um, but yeah, with Kevin J. Anderson, I'm not super worried. I'll probably talk to him more Dune than anything else because I want to be done with Battle of Corran by March. So I have 4 books left. So we're probably going to get into House Carino this week. I don't know if I'll finish it, but we'll get through. I'm going to try to power read through some of it starting today. Because that or Jedi Apprentice, one or the other. Even if I get through Jedi Apprentice, I'll probably get that done today. I think I'm just going to go House Carino. There's a lot. There's probably not going to be too much new reviewing coming out in January. It's all pre-recorded pretty much, except for 2 Indiana Jones reviews. A novel review for Philosopher's Stone that I recorded and I didn't like how it turned out, so I want to re-record it. And then one for Further Adventures issue 6. As for my comic book reading, we're probably going to try get Indiana Jones heavy going forward, specifically the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, those Marvel comics. I want to get through all of those because I just played The Great Circle. I've beat the storyline of The Great Circle. I'm working on 100%ing it right now. I have not played Order of the Giants. I know that if you got the deluxe edition, you paid $100. You got that early or something like that, or it automatically downloads for you. I didn't want to spend additional money. That game was way too expensive at base value, so I have not purchased that DLC, which I don't even know if it's fully out yet. So that's a whole thing. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of I don't knows going on. But the big thing is I want to make sure there was a continuity error. Feels like I mean, we're not going to count Staff of Kings because it wasn't technically not a AAA game release because they never released the main game. They released the ports to like the lesser consoles, right? So and we're not gonna count Lego Indiana Jones games because those are based off of movies. But I want to talk about Emperor's Tomb had major continuity error issues with Secret of the Sphinx, and there are ways to work around it. This one though had like a bizarre continuity error with Genesis Deluge, and I genuinely think Disney interfered and said you had to put this in, and it doesn't make sense. And I don't think it was a Todd Howard decision because based on so much of like the bonus like optional like notes and stuff, there are references to Max McCoy books, the French comics, the Indiana Jones Chronicles series, the Young Indiana Jones YA books. There's so many like characters and stuff mentioned. A lot of stuff with like a lot of solid stuff that is not from the films. That is from bonus material. Um, that it's it was really interesting that they would contradict Rob McGregor, who wrote the most Indiana Jones material. That's really weird. Um, and I don't. I felt tacked on and funky, and I think there's a way around explaining it, like explaining why it's not a continuity error necessarily. It's weird. But like we've done it before with Emperor's Tomb, so we can do it here as well. Anyway, it's about all I have. Um, the one last thing, we're going to try to be done with King of Our Nightmares. I know this season's gone on for like 2 years. It's so bad. It's been so bad. This and Walking Without Rhythm have been going for way too long. And we're going to focus on getting them done. Thankfully, we're done with all the long stuff. So we have Eyes of the Dragon coming out next. And then I want to focus on Dune. And then we'll get that Alien book done and out. That'll come out this month. That is the other fresh review that will be coming out. That honestly will take priority probably over everything else, is to get that out in a functional, like a punctual time. But the other one, we got, let's see, we got Drawing of the Three, Misery, Nightmares in the Sky, and The Dark Half. We have like 4 books left of King of Our Nightmares. All of which, especially Nightmares in the Sky, they're all fairly short as far as Stephen King goes. I'm not super worried about them. If Eyes of the Dragon took me like 1 day, Drawing of the Three, this would be my 3rd read of that. That's going to go really fast. I've read The Dark Half before, but it's been a long time. I've never read Misery, and that dawned on me. I thought I had, but like with it, I mean, I have read it before. I had read it once prior to reading it for King of Our Nightmares. Right. But like I'd seen the films far more than I'd read the book, and more recently, so things were confused. And then it dawned on me, I've never actually read Misery. I've just watched the movie. And I don't even think I've watched the movie all the way through because it's a story I don't care for so much. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not something I really liked when I was younger. I'd probably like it more now because that's more my style of horror as I get older. I know I read The Dark Half because I genuinely thought it was bizarre and I thought the movie was garbage. But yeah, Nightmares in the Sky, never read it. I had never heard of it until we started looking up like the weird oddity books for the podcast. And we're skipping over certain things that are really rare because no one's going to read them really. Um, a lot of the Stephen King publication order lists will also list things he never finished, or even better. And I say better with with every bit of sarcasm. They'll not say the collected version of a book. They will list every single short story or novella. That is so fucking annoying, especially when you haven't read every collection or you've read it a long time ago and you don't remember everything in it. I can't tell you every story that's in Night Shift now. It's been too long. I can't even tell you every story that's been in Skeleton Crew, and I reviewed that back in October. Like, don't do that shit. That's fucking stupid. Be better. Like, God, that's so dumb. The only time you should list a short story or novella and it's not in its collected form is if it never was collected. That makes sense. And then in parentheses where you can find it. Like let's take the Guns essay. The Guns essay is not in anything else that I'm aware of. It would never got a physical release, or like if it did, it was very limited. Quite frankly, it's probably the least thing I'm looking forward to for this podcast, and that's saying a lot because we got the stupid Gwenty books and all the Holly Gibney garbage. Like, I'm not looking forward to him complaining about guns in America. Really not. The man wrote Rage. It's just fucking ridiculous. You know? But anyway, that's about all I have for today. I'll see you later, and Happy New Year.